really, really this game of cat and mouse. And now I'm kind of curious, like Wukong is the obvious one that's going to get picked.
Yeah,
but then what do you do here? Do you lock one of those OP mid laners, knowing that you could get counterpicked by the Lissandra? Or does mid lane just actually fall through, first round for blue side and only get picked on the RNG side?
I think they might do Ahri Lee Sin.
Doing it anyway.
I think they might do Ahri Lee Sin. If they don't do Ahri Lee Sin, I don't know. I think they'll do Ahri Lee Sin.
And it does make sense. It's Wei's third most played at the tournament, behind, of course, the Viego and the Wukong. There is the Xayah for Gala down towards the bottom side. Have yet to see him on his signature Kai'Sa in this finals.
It's got to be List, right? Like, it's just got to be. I mean, it's 3 times in a row. LeBlanc, I mean, is a Faker special, but he was really good on Lissandra, and it has been so effective. All right, well, it's going to be Faker LeBlanc, one of his best champions historically.
And I think that when you look back to his performance yesterday in particular, he does consider it to be a good matchup into the Ahri, and then you also pair it up with a Wukong. You have great mid lane setup, you have really good scaling throughout the later game, and as you rightly said, it's a big comfort pick for Faker.
51 plays all time, 80.4% win rate for Faker LeBlanc.
I mean,
just insane.
When he joined the LCK, it was how long could he go undefeated on this champion? Like, he had an incredible run at the start of his career.
And yeah, and that makes me think back to 2015 MSI when they actually lost to ADG Game 5. It was the undefeated Faker LeBlanc that was let through, and then the Morgana counterpick comes through. They actually lose that game. So it would be interesting to see if history can be flipped here, if T1 can bring out the LeBlanc in that clutch moment and actually, catapult themselves to a potential victory with it.
It would be funny if RNG hovered Morgana. I'm just saying.
Ahri
But yeah, I think that, as you rightly said, that was the first MSI. It was EDG to secure it, of course. Wow, so let's have a look here. There's the Lee Sin that we discussed so much about. I think that it is a bit of comfort for Wei, and also a very powerful mid jungle. Now they're removing the AD carries from the pool as T1 look to remove supports.
I feel like you have to ban Aurelia, right? I mean, I would be really surprised if they're actually going to leave the Aurelia up there for Bin, because it is a blind Gwen. I was thinking they might have even double ban top, like ban out Camille and the Aurelia, because those are matchups that Bin is definitely comfortable to take. But we'll see how worried T1 is about that, or if Zeus is thinking, hey, I'm going to be comfortable in these matchups no matter what. I can play to mitigate loss, and we can play towards the other side of the map. There's the Aurelia, okay.
Aurelia removed by T1, Ezreal and Senna taken away by RNG. Yep, both of you. You had the Lee Sin prediction, Azael with the big brain.
We have to
Aurelia
combine them to make one big brain, because really, individually, it doesn't look so good.
I think, and that means that we together have a world championship. That's what I think.
Yes. You've outsmarted me.
So moving into this next priority, I expect top lane to come in now, and RNG will save counterpick support. You already talked about the Camille as an option, and it seems that RNG is thinking in the same direction. Not only is it great lockdown for things like LeBlanc, but it also does very well into the Gnar as well.
Absolutely, and I mean, this is less about pre-6, but post-6, as soon as Mega times out, you gotta be scared. And when you are in mini Gnar here against Bin Camille, he can look for that all in. T1 back on absolute comfort, it feels like, in this draft. You have Gumayusi on his Jinx. You have Faker's LeBlanc here. So exciting.
Ming's Leona, will we get to see it? As we talked about, it is one of his go-to champions. It's a champion that throughout his career he has been known for. It looks like we are going to get it for him. So RNG find themselves on match point. You talk about comfort for T1. RNG in the exact same position. Xiaohu on an Ahri that he has had a huge amount of success with this split. Wei on his fabled Lee Sin. Bin on a carry. Gala and Ming on champions that they both know success with. RNG feeling comfortable heading into Game 4.
Man, I'm just getting chills. Like, it is so exciting seeing these two teams playing at such a high level, going towards these comfort picks, going towards these champions that they really, in some cases, have made their names on. It's going to be an incredible game to watch.
In 2013, they met T1 1-3-0. In 2016, they met T1 1-3-1. In 2016 Worlds, they met T1 once again. Victors at 3-1, and in 2017 Worlds, they met, and T1 came up 3-2. Today, RNG 1 game away from not only overcoming their demons in T1, but also claiming for the first time ever their third MSI title back-to-back. The era of the LPL would be secured dominance from China over the last 4 years. T1 with so much weight on their shoulders, not only organizationally, but also for the region. Only Damwon have been able to challenge the best over the last half decade. It has been 5 years since T1 were able to claim a title. 5 years of the 10 Faker has played since he was able to stand and raise the trophy aloft. T1, last chance against RNG.
So much pride on the line for these two regions, for these two teams. And also for RNG to be doing it with an all-Chinese lineup is such a big deal. You know, in the past, when the LPL began to have their success, it was largely around, you know, imported Korean solo laners. That was kind of the criticism of this region, is that their solo laners weren't as strong. But Xiaohu, Bin, we saw, you know, with Suning when Bin did it, you know, that was an all-Chinese lineup. RNG again here with all LPL players, no imports, looking to battle against the LCK's best and prove that they are stronger.
And I think we just have to talk about Xiaohu, because as a player in the past, LPL fans would be worried because domestically he was good, but internationally he always fell short. He was never quite able to deliver, and with the departure of Uzi, there were many question marks around how RNG would fare. This man even played top lane. Like, there were so many questions and concerns, but he was able to silence the doubters with the introduction of Gala, with the introduction of young players like Wei. RNG have only gotten stronger. They've only been able to develop, and Xiaohu and Ming, of course, have been at the forefront of it. So huge credit, huge growth, and he may finally be able to overcome his demon by taking down the unkillable Demon King.
I mean, Ming and Xiaohu have been with RNG for so long, the centerpiece of this organization for so many years now, and at the heart of many of their big wins. And it's been incredible when you speak about Xiaohu to talk about, not only has he done it in 2 roles, he has done it in so many different styles, right? A lot of times I think people talk about Xiaohu as a facilitator. It's like, well, what was his best champion in top lane? It was probably Lucian, right? Like, he was just dominating on Lucian, like a 90% win rate. Is Gumayusi in trouble already?
Knight is taking cleanse to get rid of it. Keria looking for the damage back onto Gala, but Gumayusi is taking a world of hurt here down on the bottom side.
So a bit of pressure already put down, and as we kind of take you back through history, T1 and RNG are fighting right here today. T1 at the precipice of defeat, but also have the opportunity to take us to Game 5.
T1 getting the push here early. You can see just so many titles for T1, 15 across domestic, MSI, and Worlds. Of course, 7 would be 8 for RNG if they can win here is incredible. But T1 just unmatched as far as their history in League of Legends.
And I think that's the big thing. That's the other side of the coin, right? A lot of people want to see Faker win again.
Ooh, I like this wraparound.
Sun's going to come down, wall dive in from Bin. He does have the flash to try and get away. Zeus goes into the mini now form. Oner in the right position at the right time. Bin realizes something might be up, paths down. Getting towards that tri-bush, flashes away. Oner though with the flash chase, and that red buff is ticking. Bin with a tactical sweep will still survive.
Oh, Bin! That was so well played by him. Even with the hookshot down, does survive. Trading flashes. I'm not sure if he actually had full vision of Oner walking around when he started walking into the river, or if he just had the read, because Zeus started running back towards him. It seemed like he had the read to me too, where Zeus is running back in towards him in a fight that he does not win. He's saying, all right, something's up. Your jungler is here. It would be so interesting to see that replay from Bin's vision and actually confirm that he did just have that read, because that is really smart stuff. And if it is the case, of course, Zeus going to get a much better base. This early gank still means a lot, because Bin's only buy is a refillable here. Like, he didn't have gold to get anything because the wave was slow pushing towards him, and he didn't get time to farm it up.
I wonder if Zeus even has to... Okay, he's going to use the TP. I was going to say, the wave is in a spot where he probably didn't have to do that, but instead he's going to match the TP for now, so not the end of the world for him. Xiaohu going to expend all of his mana to be able to clear out this wave. Will make things a little bit awkward, but this wave isn't big enough for Faker to really set up a freeze.
I absolutely agree. You know, Zeus didn't have to TP, but I think his thought process is, I have a real buy. You know, I'm at least able to get the Ruby Crystal. I'll come here, and I'll trim the wave so that you can't crash and you get stuck in the lane with me without being able to go back. Because Bin now, all Bin wants to do is shove, 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 shove. Build up this fat wave so that Zeus cannot trade back into him, so he can get back to base and actually get a real buy.
I want to draw your attention once again to the minimap, as I love to do. You'll notice all of this deep vision that's been invested already from Oner towards covering the top side of the map. With that flash gone, they have to be cautious, or they want to try and attack that side of the map. When you're playing against a Camille, putting her behind early is always a good thing. So Wei now has to do the same thing. And he, as he often is in the right place at the right time, hit to cover, and they may even look to try and get the flash out from Zeus as he commits to the 1v1.
Zeus jumping forward is huge here. Flash available for him. Hits level 5. Wei coming in, only level 3 right now. Zeus needs to flash away from the Sonic Wave. Still gets hit by it, and Zeus doesn't really have anywhere to go. Trying to hold on. The flash an option. Flashes from the wall dive. Survives in the dive, but Wei is having none of it.
Wei has been incredible this series for RNG. Again, getting to top lane, being that difference maker. Not only will they get the crash, Zeus now going to be punished for that TP back they didn't necessarily have to do. He wanted to get the maximum when he had this early lead. Now it's going to mean he'll lose a wave and a half likely here to the tower, and Ben is going to have the better reset.
And I'm surprised that Zeus was that aggressive when the expectation was that the jungler would do this as an all-in bot.
Root goes down, counter root used by Gumayusi. Ignite is ticking here. Cleanse about to come off cooldown. Keria has the thick skin to try and tank up any more damage, and Gala and Ming tanking the minions themselves will just back away.
So this is an instance of, when you look at that, Ming and Gala, you're thinking they can kill them, but they stop because they're like, our jungler's top, enemy jungler could definitely be bot. And now we see Oner with the cover, RNG can still disengage.
Ming still has the flash, just uses it to get away. Missile voyage forward by Keria, has a counter flash, and as you say, Vedi, RNG giving the respect to the fact Oner might be there.
But look at Wei, he's in the area, and RNG are trying to prevent the crash. They actually thinned that wave quite a bit. They're trading aggressively, knowing that they have Lee Sin in the area. Ben now level 5, looking for a roam towards mid. It would require Faker to distort forward aggressively for them to really get anything here, but I still like the movement from Ben because he should be able to get back towards top to catch the crash.
But there's also the possibility, right, that what happens is after he ganks bot, he actually goes from bot, paths around, and then the jungler looks to gank mid. So what Ben is also doing there is he's covering for the potential play happening in mid lane as his jungler is covering bot.
Just barely spotted. That was like a split second that he was on there for.
I didn't see
any
anything.
ping. Yeah, so I think T1 just missed it on the minimap. It's easy to say you should have seen it, and sure, if everything's perfect, you should have. But he was on there for a split second. So Wei getting in there really off of vision largely and is able to get the kill. The flash follow here with the E flash, I do believe. Yep, E flash really well played there by Wei, securing the kill. And you can see, again, the frustration. They know it's match point here. You don't want to be giving up that advantage.
And for Zeus, he's in his first international tournament as well. Like, this guy's a rookie, came in very hyped, played very well during the Rumble stage, but you were in front of a few thousand fans in Busan, all cheering for you when you win and going silent when you lose fights. It is a difficult game to play for him. Oner looking for Bin here in the top side. Bin, if you hook shots forward, you have to feel that Oner would go in.
And I have to just say that even with all that in mind, Zeus has played incredibly well, right? When you think about his position and the pressure that's on his shoulders, not only is he playing in front of his home crowd for the first time at his first international event, he's also representing T1. Like, and that's just no easy feat for anyone to do. There is a lot of pressure that just comes off the back of playing with an organization that big, and huge credit to him because he has had an incredible tournament, and there is still a big game left for him to play.
Faker can just jump out here. He's fine. Distortion does take half his health though, so Xiaohu now has an advantageous lane matchup, and T1 struggling really to react to Wei's early pressure here. The game's still relatively even, only 200 gold between the two teams. A lot of that coming for T1 from Gumayusi down towards this bottom side with about 5-6 CS lead.
Yeah, it is very even, all things considered. And honestly, it's not one of those games where I felt like in some of the earlier games, it felt clear that if one team got ahead, they were going to win based off composition. I think this is very even as far as the composition. There's different strengths and weaknesses. You know, RNG should have side lane advantage with the Camille, but I do think that the T1 5v5 is very strong. They have a lot of protection for Gumayusi. We know he can take over games. So both sides are really going to have their opportunities, and this slight gold lead isn't going to mean much unless they can really hammer it home.
And I wanted to very quickly bring the minimap up to highlight who exactly was where. You can see both supports hovering around the mid lane. Oner has been spotted.
Dodge away. They go onto the clone. They realize it's the clone and they just clear out the vision. All 5 players from both teams up here at the helm.
Okay.
Fight.
Yeah, I feel it. The question is, who is stronger at this point when we look across the
Zeus
islands?
is not stronger than 3 members of RNG, I can tell you that. Zeus tried to push the wave in. It was frozen in his face, and Wei and Xiaohu are on the way. Zeus tries to get away, kick back with the Dragon's Rage there. I think we had a spec bug for a second. Zeus going back in, Charm coming out. Mega Nara possibility. Zeus just needs one more spell. We'll get it out. And RNG disengage the fight.
And I think with Zeus, with Mega Nara timing out, Xiaohu's actually going to look for the kill.
Looking for the charm, lands it. Keria flashes forward with the power. The ignite, I didn't see if Ming used it. He didn't. Zeus gets out somehow. Meanwhile, the chase is on towards the bottom side. Oner caught up in the hexagonal maiden. Zeus trying to put the damage down across the wall, and Oner will be able to escape. Keria, what a beast!
His timing, he's always in the right place at the right time, and Zeus just about to have TP, so now they can actually come back for this. I thought RNG was going to have the edge there after they push out Zeus, but Zeus, they bought enough time, he can TP back. A lot of people going to have to reset. Xiaohu's out of mana. He used his ulti. This becomes really interesting because T1 are sticking around. Oner, Keria, and Gumayusi are here. And with Xiaohu heading towards bot, I think RNG are just going to get it potentially.
It's unfortunate for T1 that the Herald reset there, but now they've gained aggro once more. We can see that Zeus has TP back into lane. Bin has the TP, but as you rightly said, for now, it looks like RNG will choose to give this one up. I think the main reason for this is Xiaohu lacking ultimate. You look onto the other side, Oner still has his, Zeus still has his, Faker, of course, being LeBlanc, almost always has his. But at that point in time, without the Ahri ultimate, without Wei's ultimate, without Bin's ultimate, it's not an advantageous fight. So RNG say, okay, we'll take the L on this one, we'll make the cross map happen. And Faker, though, he's trying to get this kill onto Wei.
Can just jump back. Wei, of course, takes quite a lot of damage. Hextech Drake does do a lot of work. You can see him down to about 300 HP, but with Xiaohu coming up from the bottom lane, Wei should be able to secure this. Faker might dive forward once again. Wei lands the E smite, Super Mega Death Rocket was coming in as well from Gumayusi, but Wei is able to walk out of that one. Meanwhile, Bin might not be able to walk away from this, does still have the flash. It's just being forced away, as you say, the tower for Oner with the Rift Herald possible. Gumayushi's going to come here, make sure you get that auto down, and then Rift Herald goes down. You funnel this gold into the Jinx.
Yeah, that is actually huge, you know, and honestly, the rest of the T1 should get out of there. Just try to give as much of it as you can to Gumayusi. You know, get that gold onto the Jinx, accelerator as fast as possible. You can see 2,200 gold in pocket for Gumayusi, so going to be really, really strong on base here. T1 able to collect that full tower is very, very punishing because Bin had been getting himself into a pretty good position, but lost a lot of farm off of all that skirmishing around top, it seems like. And now, you know, loses the full tower in his face, so Zeus is going to be kind of slingshot ahead.
And things have kind of returned to normality, because when I look at the gold, I see T1 with a gold lead. As they often find themselves with, 11.5 minutes in, T1, while they haven't found themselves a kill just yet, very much a good position. We kind of look at the minimap once more, because vision has been a huge discussion this game. You can see that RNG slightly more defensive wards, with T1 having a little bit more control throughout the river. Just kind of goes to show what T1 have been doing in this early game. They've been contesting a lot of that river vision. They've been trying to contest around these early neutrals, and they've been doing a great job of it so far.
And the question for T1 is how can they use this early game advantage? Because we have seen them get early game leads in a couple of the other games, and they just haven't been able to shut RNG out of the match. Now, there were some draft differences in those previous games. RNG perhaps slightly better at teamfighting. Faker, he gets out the ruler for those ones. He's like, yeah, okay, I'm 37.2 centimeters away. I'm fine. Charm's not going to connect.
Looking for a play bot side. That ward's turned off, and they know it, so... we'll see if Keria and Gumayusi do overextend. I mean, Keria, he's playing so respectfully. He's playing max range behind Gumayusi there. Yeah. So the only way you can punish that is if you can actually kick the Jinx away from the flashless Keria, but it is difficult to make happen.
So the player just short there, Oner.
I love seeing this level of play just because not very often do you get to see the level of respect, and like, in particular, what separates very good teams from good teams is exactly that. The expectation, the possibility. Yeah. Could this happen and why? That ability of deduction. And speaking of, right now, do they deduce that Bin is in the brush?
Even if they do they want to take that fight? T1, they don't, and they will back away. Faker pathing down towards the bottom side alongside Keria.
And those mind games become so interesting, Vedius, because, you know, the teams are trying to think about, okay, what is the best play for my opponents? And then they are trying to respond to that. And then sometimes you have to think about, all right, what will they think is the best play for me? And now I'm going to do something different, right? It becomes that kind of evolution of the mind game, which I think is so interesting to watch. Looking for Faker now.
Trying to get underneath the tower, needs to dodge away from the Everfrost, the charm, the root, he dodges perfectly! Oh, Faker, you beautiful man, escapes the three-man dive!
What was that? I don't actually know what he did. Like, I saw him he was sidestepping as much as possible to try and dodge away from the charm. He avoided the root from the Everfrost as far as I could tell. But then I saw Bin flash and then Faker flash, and I'm like, hang on, how is he now alive?
It looked like sidestep on the Everfrost, flash on the Ahri charm, I believe. Really well done to do that inside the ultimatum. Now though, Faker, no ultimate, no flash, Wei trying to look for an opportunity here, but again, Faker playing too smart around this, and look at Gumayusi massively ahead at this point, 6,000 gold here, cash out the call, the Mythic is done, and T1 are looking poised to push this to a game 5, potentially. They're looking so good in this one.
Okay, so let's have a look back at this one.
Dodge the Everfrost.
Dodges the root. Flashes the charm.
So good,
Roots
man.
Xiaohu. Bin tries to get the execute. Oh my god. Oh my god, he's so good.
And he landed the chains on Bin. Bin flashed there because he wanted to get into melee range and actually continue the damage, knowing he was going to get changed out of melee range. He flashes point blank on Faker, and then Faker's flash dodges the charm and gets him out of range of Bin. It's just perfect.
He's 46 and 10 on LeBlanc all time. He has not lost on it this year. He's 12-0. This is his 13th game.
When you led with he's 46, I'm like, he's not that old, okay? He is not.
But like, I think, especially when you think of like some of the newer people that come into watching League of Legends, the legend of Faker is exactly that. It is a myth, a legend. He has been good. We have seen him be good over the last 5 years, but it has been so long since he's actually stood there and lifted the trophy high.
And I just think it's incredible. Across these last two series, the way in which, T1 is winning, it's not Faker just enabling the Zoomers in the side lanes, right? It has been Faker finding incredible plays. It has been Faker finding outplays in the 1v1s. Zeus, nice little buffer on the jump, dodging out from there.
And Keria once again in the right position at the right time, just in case Zeus was in more trouble. Dragon up in 2 seconds time.
And this was RNG trying to get ahead of the play. They realized that T1 is setting up to contest this Drake, so RNG wanted to try and collapse onto the contested mid-wave. They aren't able to secure onto Zeus, which means that they have to disengage, and so the TP is being committed top. They're trying to make the cross map happen, and T1 are kind of taking a page out of the RNG book now,
Wei, though.
But they have to be wary of the dive.
Zeus almost has Mega, which is good for him.
Yeah.
If the dive did come out, a good Gnar against the wall just means that Wei and Bin cannot make it work.
And again, look at the map position right now, because you can see this bot lane immediately rotating up. They recognize that RNG is making the call, hey, if we can't contest this Drake, we'll make the cross map, and T1's like, well, we don't need to send 4 people to secure this Drake. You've already signaled with your TP that you don't want to contest it, so fine, we're actually going to match and contest whatever your play is doing. Great execution on the map from T1.
Keria with the early flash away here. Gumayusi rooted up with the Everfrost devoured by Keria, and Oner coming in. The charm though into a kick. RNG just looking for the disengages. T1 start their advance. Faker diving in, change just short. Bin takes a world of hurt. From grenade after grenade from Gumayusi, as you say, Super Mega Death Rocket, a possibility. No one low enough to die from it, I don't think. But RNG, once again, look for the engage, and T1 hold them at arm's length.
Keria continuing to get so much value out of this Tahm Kench pick. The number of times the kills should have happened for RNG, but aren't quite able to, is way too high. And you look across this RNG comp, it's very much a pick comp. A lot of single target damage, a lot of getting this shut down onto a single member and leveraging numbers advantage, and the Tahm Kench is mitigating all of it.
I mean, Keria is the third summoner spell for these players, right? He's already in the right place at the right time. It feels like he's anticipated the move that RNG is going to make. He's there for the perfect devour. And when he buys that time, you said it, Vedius, it's about the pick. And if RNG can't get that initial kill, all of a sudden, Gumayusi untouched, both summoners available, he's wailing on you. And it really forces RNG back. They've got to be able to find something in side lanes to really buy themselves some space in this game.
Wei has no safeguard to get out of this one. Flames Chompers just short. Xiaohu coming in. And there we are. Wei able to dive towards his mid laner to escape. RNG are doing nothing wrong in a lot of these plays, by the way. They're looking for proactive plays. They're looking to try and catch T1 unawares, but T1 are always just that little bit quicker in terms of their movement on the map.
Well, this is what's been so great about this series is last game we talked about how T1, even in their defeat, weren't doing anything wrong. They just didn't have the tools in order to actually properly execute a lot of what they wanted to do. RNG now find themselves in a similar position. And we were talking about the draft earlier on, Azael, but the more I watch and the more I'm seeing, I think this is only going to get harder and harder for RNG because when we think about how these fights are going to play out, you have a lot of single target damage versus Jinx. Jinx is going to have so much protection with this type of front line that if she's just left to free hit, and with the position that she's in right now, like T1 have a very solid front-to-back team fight comp, and they're gaining more and more control over the map.
Abyssal Voyage going in. Knock up onto Wei. Oner chunked out a little bit. Rift Hold available to him if he does get out of there, but Keria is a little bit too deep here. Big Skin still available, but the charm comes out. No flash for Keria. Oner, just short of being slowed by the solar flares. Xiaohu dive forward. Oner able to dash across the wall.
Yeah, Ming just not able to connect with those solar flares, it feels like, this game. And I agree with you, Vedius. It's looking better and better for T1. To me, the biggest difference maker from expectation versus reality is I thought RNG were going to be able to have Camille in a much better position. Camille has not been able to get farm. Camille has not been able to get kills. you're at 110 CS almost 20 minutes into the game. That's very atypical. And generally it's around this 20-minute mark that you would be expecting, okay, Camille is starting to build towards a second item, is really starting to kind of outscale in this 1v1, but they haven't been able to find anything. And if Zeus just goes armor second item here, like just go rando with second item, you're not going to be able to really threaten the burst down on the Gnar and side lanes, which forces you into full-on 5v5, which is not really where RNG want to be. They want to have side lane control and then catch people in transition and utilize their pick comp to do that.
And I think that largely came down to two main reasons. Number one, Xiaohu's lack of priority in mid. They did first pick the Ahri, but Faker responding with LeBlanc did give him consistent control over this mid wave, forcing Xiaohu to play defensively and underneath his tower, mitigating his ability to roam. And the second one being the level 3 ganks top lane. They got the flash out from Bin, and even though Wei was able to counter and mitigate, they were still able to find kills onto Bin and put him behind, making that matchup and ability to be aggressive that much harder. So T1, their approach to the early game and the draft, showcasing that they recognize that mid control is extremely important, which shouldn't really come as a surprise to anyone, but the way both these teams leverage that mid control can be game defining.
Absolutely, and I really liked how T1, even as a full team, were able to, then pressure Bin into dropping waves to come to the Herald. They went out in this Herald scuffle. They're the ones up the top side, taking that full tower away from what was a 100% HP turret that Bin had. That was so good as well. Bin has been forced to kind of just roam and group. They don't really have the vision to play safe. You look all through the river, it's T1 dominated as far as the vision game completely.
And because Zeus is ahead of Bin in the side lane, he gets to push forward. Bin then has to catch the wave, which means Zeus can come down and move with the rest of his team. Xiaohu then has to answer mid, so it's a 4v4, and that gives Faker free time on the bottom lane to take this tower. T1 just pulling the strings, puppeting RNG right now as they walk them all around the map. Rift Herald down in the mid lane. It's going to be 2 towers, but none in favor of T1.
Eyes. What's going on the map right now? Minimap is the most important part to look at this point in the game. You can see the T1 with their mid pressure, with the bot wave stacked up. They're cleanly set up for this Drake rotation as well. The question is, can Wei? He wanted to get a flank, but a good ward coming out from T1. They recognize the options that RNG have, and they're limiting them.
Yeah, T1 are just playing this so well. All the outer towers have now fallen for RNG, moving around the map, creating pressure. I don't think RNG are even going to try for this one. I think if anything, they look, maybe towards that third dragon. They did grab an early one themselves, so that does push back any potential soul. And for RNG, it's about buying yourself more time. It's about trying to find those picks in the side lanes to really kind of open up the map, because T1 is suffocating them, and it really only feels like on T1 resets that RNG can move out and try to reclaim some vision. And it's generally been very defensive warding, right? They're not really making those dangerous forays into the enemy jungle. It's always just, okay, try to keep some defensive vision so we can get our own waves, try to keep some vision around Baron, so we're not going to give that up.
Intense game, but one that was much needed, excuse me, for T1. We already talked so much about the stakes. It's been so long since Faker and T1 have lifted a trophy, and they're at the precipice of doing so once again. They need 2 victories. RNG lead the series 2-1. If you have just joined us, I recommend you backtrack, because it has been an incredible series between 2 of the best teams in the world, and T1 find themselves in control once again. They're setting up a lot of vision around the bot side, primarily to cover for Zeus, as they continue the pressure onto these tier 2 towers.
And it's just been really interesting to see the back and forth in this series and the different approaches to each game. This game has been much more like game 1, game 2, and 3, where a lot more scrappy, a lot more aggressive, but T1 feeling very comfortable about their position in this game, limiting the opportunities that RNG has. A lot of people always, when they come to International, the fans will watch and they'll say, all right, well, why are teams not playing as aggressive when they play aggressive in my region? And there was a really great interview from Impact where he talked about when you go International, the level of your opponents is so much higher, so they just show you way fewer windows in which you can be aggressive. Because the aggression is not random at this level. It's about capitalizing on mispositioning. It's about capitalizing on advantages and mistakes. And when your opponents are not showing you those, the game really slows down and becomes very, very cerebral, as it has in game 4.
That's what T1 and RNG are really good at doing. RNG so good at showing very minimal windows when they fall behind in the early game and then getting to teamfights. T1 very good at not giving their enemies a window to return into the game. That's exactly what they're doing here. 2,500, almost 3,000 gold ahead. 2 dragons to the good. They're at 2 items apiece, almost 3 items already on Gumayusi. They are in a very strong position. Zeus, though, going for the hull breaker kind of implies that he wants to spend a little bit more time in a side lane and maybe split this comp up to a 1-4.
Certainly seems that way. I am a little surprised in terms terms of the randomization, because as I mentioned, I think that T1 in a front to back should actually feel a lot more comfortable as the game progresses. But regardless, that is the decision that he's chosen to make. Perhaps it just gives him a little bit more power in the Camille matchup in the event that RNG try to force something and he has to go and answer, because they're probably a little concerned about who can actually match this Camille on a side. So that's probably his logic in this situation. A TP gets invested towards bot. They're now looking for a play. Flash.
Bin does still have the flash for the follow-up. I think this TP was more to make sure that they get that bot side tower. Baron, a possibility for T1. They are going to pull the alarm bells and work their way up towards it. They have perfect vision around it as well. No, one ward in the pit. That will be stopped if they put a control ward in there. They've got 2 in their inventories. They also have a sweeper. Okay, no vision now for RNG as they walk across.
4 control wards. Look at that level of control that T1 have on the top side. They saw the TP investment immediately, moved up towards the top side, and now they are suffocating that control from RNG.
And I think that T1 are going to try to force Bin to TP at the very least. They need to either send someone bot now or try to force a TP. The answer looks like Faker will go bot to match potentially, but no, he's actually heading out towards mid, now going back towards bot, so they will look to respond in that side lane play. And yeah, I think the read probably from Zeus is, okay, how do we lose this game? It's me getting killed inside.
Yep.
How do I avoid that? And if his read is Hullbreaker will make me really strong in a potential 1v2, will give me that survivability, then hey, I respect it. You know, I think Randuin's is a really strong option, but if you're not sure if you're going to be going up against Xiaohu or Bin, if it could be magic or armor that you need, then this does kind of become a little bit of a catch-all, at least.
Something you mentioned earlier, Azael, was this cerebral approach. I love talking to Lyric about RNG because he was like, they're the exception to the norm in the LPL.
Yeah.
Often they don't skill check you in the same way that many other LPL teams do. They will position themselves in a way that go, hey, we're not allowed to be here. Do you want to come find out how much we're not allowed to be here? And they'll take those duels, they'll take those fights. Whereas RNG is a lot more cerebral. They will play the map. And I think that throughout MSI, we've consistently highlighted how well they do play that map. Faker with a bit of poke damage onto Ming. The 3rd Drake for them is up in 30 seconds. And RNG, are they going to give it up or are they going to look to contest?
I think they're probably just going to give, right? Just continue scaling with Bin in this side lane, allow them to get to Soul Point here, and then look to fight at the next one unless they see a great opportunity. But, you know, what you're saying is it's also reflected in the game times from these teams, right? T1 has had a 3-minute faster average game time, RNG on the slower end of that, you know, about 30.5 minutes as their average time. They don't feel rushed. They're very comfortable in their late stages of the game and their setups. But RNG, I was wrong. They do have the IE on Gala here. And posturing like they do want to scrap here. But Zeus has a great flank angle.
Zeus knows Ming's there. They're going to pop in. Control ward down to make that target. Gala has to put the Feather Storm. Bin looking for Zeus out towards the bottom side, but Zeus just kiting them out. Dragon will be secured by T1. Zeus trying to get towards the Mega Knight, can't get there in time. Dragon taken and the fight begins as the fight going onto the back line. Look at the damage coming out from Gumayusi. Quick, boom! From the Jinx as Bin now dives forward as well. Keria with a good devour. Xiaohu trying to dash away. Gumayusi on the chase. Abyssal Voyage forward. The solar flare on Gumayusi, but they just can't get close enough. RNG invested everything in the start of the fight and T1 are mopping them up.
Keria does it again! He body blocks the follow-up from Bin to prevent him from getting the shutdown onto Gumayusi, and this Jinx was left to wreak havoc onto RNG. All 5 find themselves dead, 4 are alive for T1, and a Baron is available for the taking.
It's by the slimmest of margins, but T1 will reap the rewards as RNG. Look at that damage on a Gala. That's a zap into an ulti. Forces the ulti response there from Gala, and now he is so vulnerable. Xiaohu and Bin collapse there, and they do kill off Zeus, but it's both ultis committed. So in comes T1. Faker diving into the backline, forcing the flash out of Gala. Wei gets erased by Gumayusi, and the key thing is they just can't get to Gumayusi. The backstep on the hookshot in there from Bin, and then the devour from Keria, keeping him safe.
And just keep your eyes on Keria. The engage from Ming was so massive. Then look, he body blocks the stun. That means the Gumayusi doesn't get locked down by Bin, and if he did, maybe there's a 1-team fight there for RNG, but T1 play that fight perfectly.
I mean, just using the maximum there. Faker was, what, 5%? Gumayusi, not much more. Incredibly slim margins there, and a huge team fight from Gumayusi. Forcing out the ult from Gala meant he really couldn't play it very aggressively. It's such a critical ultimate to be missing. You can see the damage output still incredibly high from both of these marksmen, but those tiny differences really meant everything.
Oh, no, charmed up. Devour again from Keria. Hexagon Ming goes down onto Keria with the cyclone. The follow-up! Oh, it's an assembly of death for RNG. They dived into the meat grinder, and T1 very willing to kill him off.
T1 are gonna push mid. They have Baron. They've got multiple kills now. How much more can they get? 38 seconds on Gala. T1 could look to try to end Wei, going for some heroics potentially.
T1 though, 5 members strong with the Baron. Still 2 minutes on it. Gala up in 26 seconds, Bin in 20. RNG had to pull off something miraculous to turn this game around, but when you need a miracle, you pray to God, and he's playing for the enemy team right now. Zeus goes forward, the Gnar into the wall. T1 and Baker will take us to game 5.
T1 with a masterclass team fight. We talked about how the longer this game went, the easier it's going to be for T1. And in a 4 versus 5, they play the front to back beautifully. That bot lane stepped up massively. The subtleties of Faker's input with the LeBlanc, the damage he was able to dish out alongside the perfect spacing from Gumayusi, allowed them to win the fight, win the Baron, win the game, and bring us to match point game 5.
And you can see the sigh of relief there